app. You know, we got a hold of a letter from the Texas Attorney General. Ken Paxton is warning Judge Clay Jenkins that Dallas County's public health orders are not only confusing, they're unlawful. David Goins has been looking into this. Who else did the AG send this letter to?
Yeah, hey there, Chris. This letter from the AG's office went to mayors and county judges down in Austin and San Antonio and to Dallas County Judge Clay Jenkins this afternoon, basically walking through step by step where the state believes the county's safer at home order conflicts with the state. Let's kind of walk you through that. Now, the first one is masks. Dallas County's order has always required folks when they leave to wear a mask if they're going into an essential business. We know that Governor Abbott's latest order does not require that. Dallas's safer at home also specifies the limit, the number of attendees at a church service. The statewide order that Abbott put out a week or two ago does not specify the number of attendees at a church service, though it does recommend the 6-foot social distancing. The AG's office also says that shelter in place that's here in Dallas County can just be a recommendation and not an order, and that lawyers are now part of essential business in the state. So the issue of just how much teeth Dallas County's safer at home order actually was a pretty lengthy piece of discussion, Chris. Just 1 week ago today at the Dallas County Commissioner's Court, they decided not to do anything with it at that point. As it stands right now, Dallas County's safer at home order would expire on Friday unless they decide to hold an emergency meeting to extend it. Keep in mind, doctors and even some business groups in Dallas County have encouraged Dallas County to extend it a little bit further if they can. We'll see if that happens. Live in Dallas, I'm David Goins.
All right, thank you.